Have you ever wondered why some apps go viral while others struggles to gain traction? Why some social media apps are more engaging than others? Why some platforms have more vibrant communities while others feel like ghost town? We heard a lot of advices regarding B2B SaaS startups, but not much about consumer social app. Over the past 5 years, I've been building my startup SewaYou, a location-based language exchange mobile app. Here are some struggles I went through, hard truths and surprising insight I've learned from the past few years building and growing the app. Be aware of the 99-1 rule. When building a social app that has users-generated contents like a feed with users' posts, one key factor to consider is the 90-9-1 rule. So this principle stated that 90% of your users are passive, meaning they only consume content and do not contribute. 9% of users are somewhat active, meaning they may occasionally contribute content or engage with others. And only a tiny 1% of users are highly active, meaning they are the most engaged and contribute to the majority of the content. Reddit is an app that has successfully encouraged users' participation. The app allows users to post content, comment on others' users' posts, and vote on content they like. As a result, the platform has a vibrant community of active creators, contributors, but also lurkers. As a personal experience, for the first few years of my startup SewaYou, there's no feed or timeline allowing users to create content or post anything publicly. As a way both to foster a sense of community and also allow members to post interesting content, write sentence as a way to practice a foreign language, and also get corrected by other members of the community, I implemented an entire section of the app dedicated to that. The number doesn't lie. Most users don't post anything, not reacting with emojis to others' posts neither, or not even commenting. That was a tough pill to swallow, because at that time I wasn't aware of the 90-9-1 rule, but now it makes sense. The hardest part is that for those 1% of users who contribute in the form of creating content, they might feel really discouraged to post anything. It really feels unmotivated to see that nobody cares, react, comments on your created contents, so some just ended up not posting anything anymore. So the lesson learned is, if you have user-generated contents in your app, if that is your primary success KPIs, then find ways to give incentive to the content creator in a form that doesn't really necessarily require other users' contribution, because 90% of people won't do anything. That can be showing the view count on a post or piece of content instead of just reaction, likes, or comments, because platforms like YouTube, Quora, even recently Twitter, do that very well, or offering some rewards with points and badges, but this kind of gamification can be itself an entire topic to discuss. Also, offer a way for other users to interact with the contents anonymously. You'll be surprised to know that the motive behind people not contributing to other users' contents is because they don't want to have their profile to appear publicly in the list of people who like that piece of content, or simply don't want the original poster to see their profile. So there are two ways to deal with that. The first one is to implement something like anonymous polls, and people love these. Make sure that the poll result can only be seen by people who actually voted. Another way is anonymous upvoting or downvoting, and platforms like Reddit or Stack Overflow does that pretty well. For SewaYou, since the feed or timeline feature is just one part of the app and not really the core and killer feature of the app, for the moment it just serves the purpose of making users who post interesting content to have their profile stand out a little bit. The motive behind it is then to get contacted by other users who saw their post. So at the moment I don't really optimize that area, but if engagement around content is the core of your app, then by all means optimize that. It can be in a form of reminders every now and then when the user visits the feed, and the effectiveness will then depend greatly on what is in it for me and the timing of the reminder, but also works for things that don't require lots of efforts, such as short-form content. The second hard truth that I faced was the mind-boggling churn rate. By default, consumer app users want to churn, meaning they want to delete the account or uninstall the app. They will find every single little bugs in your app that can harm their experience, and they are wired to churn right away without even fully experiencing your app. Unlike B2B SaaS or apps, a consumer user doesn't download and try out an app because of a critical business need or because their colleagues or manager ask them to do so. And it's even truer for free or freemium apps, which is what social consumers apps are. They don't have the patience and mercy to forgive an average app nor do their lives depend on that app, unlike a specific B2B apps that solve a specific need. So your app's mission is to prevent that. It's a life and death battle, and I'm not even exaggerating when I'm saying that. The opposite to users churn is user retention. Did you know that 25% of apps are only open once? Some social apps lose up to 80% of the users base in the first week. These numbers highlight just how challenging it can be for an app developer to prevent churn and retain users. The first day of usage is critical for user retention, but it's not the only factor that determines whether users will continue using your app. A poorly designed app with confusing navigation or cluttered interface can turn users off and increase the likelihood of churn. An app that doesn't deliver value to users or that fails to live up to its promise, it's unlikely to retain users over the long term. On the other hand, an app that provides clear value to users with features that are easy to use and understand is more likely to retain users over the long term. One of the most important things to increase user retention is to have a great onboarding experience. It's crucial for app developers to invest time and resources into creating a great onboarding experience. And in fact, at Twitter, 1/3 of the engineering time back then and resources are dedicated to the user onboarding experience, and even treat that first few steps for new users as a completely separated app from the main product. Twitter realized that people tend to stick within the app if they have a well-populated feed of interesting content. So they decided to ask users to follow some topic and also interesting profiles right at the onboarding step to avoid users to face the blank slate once they create their accounts. This is now a common practice for popular apps like Pinterest or Clubhouse. Onboarding is also the best timing to educate your users on how to use your app, but don't believe for a second that all users will follow all your 20 tutorial steps one by one, because the majority will just ignore and skip them altogether. I've learned that the hard way with my app SewaYou. A non-negligible percentage of user churn because they don't know how to use the app, despite having all those explanations and guides. So it's your job to incorporate tutorial or guide throughout the app usage in an incremental way. Do not overwhelm the users right at the beginning. Instead, only show what's needed at the proper timing. Prioritize steps that will bring your users to the magical moment that your app can bring as soon as possible. That's what increases user retention. Pro tips here: just get feedback from users who are about to churn. They're gonna delete their account and uninstall your app anyway, so let their last goodbye contribute to the future improvement of your app by getting to know why they delete the app. Make it mandatory. There's no room to make it optional here, but make it as frictionless as possible, not playing the game of asking users to send us an email if you want to delete their account. They're gonna not do it. Plus, you're gonna get a 1-star review on your app. Also, I believe now that Apple makes it mandatory for apps to allow users to completely delete their account directly within the app. So make it as simple as having one single question like, why did you decide to stop using our app, with a list of selectable multiple answers, and use those data to improve your app in the future. For my startup SewaYou, the promise is to connect people nearby to practice a foreign language in person. And the biggest reason why new users churn is that they cannot find anyone in their area to practice with in person because they are close to nobody in that specific region. Which leads us to the next struggle lesson: solving the cold start problem. If you watch some of my videos, you'll see me talk about this a few times and recommend a book of the same name from Andrew Chain, a general partner at A16Z. The cold start problem is a challenge that arises when a new app or service is launched and has little or no historical data to work with. In the context of social network app, it's when a new user signs up but has no friend or connection. And without any friends or connection, it can be hard to provide a good experience because social networks rely on interaction between users. To overcome this problem, a classic solution for social network app is to encourage users to invite their friends. But for an app like SewaYou, where the promise is to connect you not to your friends but other language learners nearby that you don't necessarily know, as there's no intrinsic or incentive value to invite your friends to kind of play with you on the app. You could also provide tools to help users find people with similar interest or preference and use data to make personalized recommendations for social connection or content. To add another layer of difficulty for an app like SewaYou, we connect people physically in person, so the network and possible interactions are restricted within a local network, unlike some social media like Instagram or Twitter, where contents matter the most and and not necessarily the geographic boundaries. The closest comparison for an app like SewaYou is dating apps, where users need to be present geographically in the same area, or local meetups events app like Meetup. The book, The Cold Start Problem, cites several examples of how apps have successfully overcome the cold start problem, including the story of how Tinder launched university by university. When Tinder first launched, it faced the challenge of building a user base in a highly competitive market. To overcome this challenge, the app's founders decided to launch the app at a single university. It started with launching parties and required participants to download and complete their profile on Tinder in order to attend the party. This helps focus on building a highly connected network of users with the same motive. By intentionally targeting a single university and building a critical mass of users within that community, Tinder was able to gain momentum and create a buzz around the app. Once the app had gained traction at one university, it was able to expand to other universities and eventually to the broader market. It's like a playbook that needs testing and preparation, but once you validate it, the process can be replicated and the result can be repeatable. Cold start problem can be often associated with the chicken and egg problem. In some cases, you can just buy the chicken, that is, shortcutting the process and invest in growing really quickly an initial atomic network. This could involve existing communities, influencers, or even paid marketing to quick start your platform. But back then, before knowing the notion of cold start problem, it was pure struggle. I was trying to aimlessly to promote the app on any kinds of forums or online communities without having much targeted audience in mind, and tend to think that as long as there are new users is good. Over time, I learned the value of smaller but highly concentrated network of a diluted and spread network with weak nodes in the context of my app, and which is again to connect people nearby in person to practice the language. If you want to learn more about the cold start problem, I highly recommend reading the book. I myself read it twice. Another struggle I went through and hard lesson learned was that getting positive app reviews is extremely hard. Have you ever left a review for an app yourself? What was the last time, if ever, you've written a review for an app? In my entire life, I did it once because the app was good and also because it helped support a friend. There are tons of apps that I love using daily for which I never write reviews for. At most, just put some ratings. The thing is, most people read reviews before downloading and try out a new app that's not mainstream. I mean, you don't need to read reviews before downloading TikTok nowadays. Reviews can be a powerful tool for both users and app developers. However, reviews can be a double-sword edge. It's an obvious thing to say, but lots of one-star negative review for your app can sink it to the bottom of the App Store listing, while lots of 5-star positive reviews can keep your app in the top search result for months or years. Of course, there are other factors that are also taken into account when ranking apps. Users can leave a 1-star review for the smallest bug, while never leaving a 5-star review despite being a power users for years. As an app developer, this can be frustrating and demotivating sometimes. It's important to keep in mind that negative reviews can provide valuable feedback for improving your app. The chance to turn a 1-star negative review into a 5-star positive review might be even higher to get a review to begin with, as users will just have to update their previous review and even get notified when developers respond to their app review. Human psychology has biases toward rewarding efforts from someone who did something good to them, in this case, fixing a harmful bug or adding a new requested feature, rather than pricing apps that already have those features implemented, as users might take them for granted. One way to encourage more positive reviews is to prompt users to leave a review after a certain number of usage or after a successful completion of a task within the app. The best timing is to prompt them after completing a satisfying action that contributes to bring them to the aha moment, which is the magical moment when a user experiences a breakthrough in understanding the value or utility of your app. It's the moment when users realize how the app can solve a problem or fulfill a need in their life, and when they see the app's potential to provide ongoing value. But you can't do that indefinitely, as according to Apple's guideline, apps are only allowed to display up to 3 prompts per year that ask users to rate or review the app to avoid abuse or annoy users. One day you try out a new restaurant and saw a hair in the soup, boom, 1-star review on your way back while riding a cab. Spend energy to type a long verbose review without an ounce of hesitation. It's just the way it is. People remember better negative experience over the positive ones and are eager to let the world know about that. Also, do not underestimate the human laziness. Despite being asked and agreed to do so, people will just end up not not doing anything by pure laziness, or their life got busy and they end up just forgetting about it. At the end of the day, it's just a number game, meaning that to increase positive reviews, you need to increase the tiny percentage of people loving your app or product, and that starts with making a product that people love and find valuable. That's not enough. You need to ask them either programmatically at their aha moments or directly ask via email, notification, or during surveys and so on. As if it wasn't hard enough already to get positive reviews, you'll also be the target of negative reviews from scammers who might leave bad ratings, mostly and not writing reviews because they get angry that their accounts get banned, or negative reviews from competitors. It's a really hard game. For example, in the past, SewaYou got a 1-star review because amongst the list of languages you can choose and set up as your native language in your profile, there wasn't a specific language that a user wants. Right after seeing the review, I updated the app to add that specific language and reply to the review, but ended up being ignored. That person either didn't check the email to see that they have received a notification saying they got a response from the app developers, or just completely ignored the response. At the end, you'll be left with a 1-star negative review. You can say that as long as you reply saying that you solved the issue in the reviews, then others will see it. That's not always the case. Most people won't go beyond the first display 3 or 4 reviews before downloading an app, but that 1-star review can impact negatively the overall rating of your app. Building a social network app is hard, but the upside can be huge. I hope some of the lessons I've learned over years can help you overcome some of the biggest struggles. Just being aware of these is putting you ahead of the you who are not aware of them. I also discussed about getting positive reviews from users with great customer support experience in this video here, so check it out. Follow me on Instagram for bite-sized short videos of the behind the scene of building a startup as a solo and foreign founder in Japan. Like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more similar weekly videos, and leave a comment if you have any thought on the topic. See you in the next one. Bye.